Hello, 7th grade. It's me again, Randy Titzel, and Pam Turquinio and I are excited to roll out this week's slide deck. So welcome to week 5. First, I wanted to point your attention to the instructional continuity site on the bottom of the first slide and just continue to encourage you to visit the site with any needs, questions, and concerns that you have. Please remember that any and all feedback is welcomed and appreciated. And I also wanted to note that the virtual office hours, they're only taking place on Wednesdays. So if you have questions and concerns and it's not Wednesday, you can always provide feedback and ask those questions anytime by just clicking on the link within the site, and it says ask questions and provide feedback. If you click there, it will take you to the Continuity of Learning customer service page, and you can kind of filter down to who you're trying to reach and put that feedback or questions in, and then we can get back to you. So I just wanted to remind you that that is there. Slide 2 this week is new, and you'll want to make sure that you delete this slide before you push it out to students. So this slide is just there to provide you guys with some information that you might be getting some questions about coming up soon, and just to kind of keep you guys updated in the loop. If you click on the blue circle, you will see a letter that pops up. So this letter provides an update from Karen Sharp, our secondary ELAR curriculum coordinator, about summer reading. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to her and she will be happy to help you. So that is just to keep you guys in the loop. Make sure you delete that slide. And then we get to this week's lesson. So I'm going to hop down to slide 6. And this week, the content focus is perseverance through poetry. And students are going to analyze a poem, and then they're going to have the opportunity to write about their own learning experiences. So on this slide, you see just a short mini lesson, and it is centered around the use of a few poetic elements, as those elements will support their understanding of the poem this week. So then we hop over to slide 7, which is the actual learning experience. Again, the daily literacy routines, they haven't changed. So students are still encouraged to read or write for 15 minutes each day. So that's still there. And then we have the actual learning experience and the activity document. So if you click on that, and I've already clicked on it just so we don't have to wait for the forced copy. We got some feedback and advice this week, and I wanted to make sure that we not only shared it, but included it. So the feedback we got was having a document outline in place, and that it can be a super helpful tool. And I totally agree, and I love it. So students may enjoy this piece. If you look over here on the left, you see a little box with the bullets and some lines on it, and it says show document outline. So we went ahead and included this, and it's chunked just like the assignment, so into the 4 parts. And so students may like having just some organization, and it could help them chunk the lesson throughout the week. So if they, on Thursday, maybe they're planning on doing their written response, they could pull up the document and go straight to the written response. And, on Friday, they're going to do revising and editing. Then they could go straight to that piece. So if you are doing screencastifys and you're creating those for students, this would be a great thing to show them. Some of them might not even know that box means that there's an outline there. So make sure that you point that out to them. And then teachers, you could also use this. This is a great tool for you guys to, when you're providing feedback, you open up the documents and you can jump straight to the place where we are providing the feedback. So saving, the 20 seconds it might take to scroll, but times how many students you have. So it could be a great time saver. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you for the feedback. That's awesome. Now the lesson. So it's pretty straightforward this week. We have part 1, which is the quick write. So they will do that. There's really, the directions are exactly what they will be doing. Part 2 is the reading and analyzing. So they're going to read The Rose That Grew from Concrete. And so the poem is attached here, and it does force a copy. And then after they read, they will choose one prompt to respond to. If you feel that you need to narrow this list of prompts, feel free to do so. Make sure if you narrow this list that you take out the sentence starter that goes with it. So maybe you just want 2 here because you feel it's overwhelming for your students to have 3 choices. That's totally fine. Make sure you remove the sentence stem so that they don't get confused. And then the analyze part. So on this section, the students are going to watch a video. So again, if you're screencastifying, it's a great idea to remind them that you click on the picture and that brings you to the video that they can click on. So just another reminder for them. Then they're going to practice analyzing the metaphor that is provided in the poem. And so they're going to think about, what does the rose symbolize? What does the concrete symbolize? And so here are some optional sentence stems for them to use there. And then part 3 is the written response. And so again, if you feel that these 2 written responses too much choice, or you maybe want to narrow down to 1 and not provide choice, that is something that you and your PLCs have the freedom to do. We do ask that you use one of these, but again, if you want to focus in on 1 and you have specific things you're looking for and feedback that you want to give just regarding one of the prompts, absolutely okay to just narrow down to 1. Again, remember to delete the sentence starter that goes with the one you're not using so that students don't get confused. And again, please feel free to include your own personal examples and models for students as well. So that is part 3. And then part 4 this week, there is revising and editing. And in this part, there is no white box for students this week. So we wanted to just leave this practice here, as revising and editing is a extremely crucial part of the writing process, and we want to encourage good literacy practices. But they're not going to be typing in any original sentences and revised sentences for this part this week. So students are just asked to focus on organization and conventions. If you want to change any of these questions within the organization or conventions, please feel free to do so. If you have a checklist that you use in your class that students are familiar with, please feel free to use that instead and delete these. We just ask that you focus in on the organization and conventions piece. And they can go back, review their written responses, make any changes that they feel they need, and then that's it. So it's not something that we're providing feedback on. We're just trying to get them and encouraging them to continue good practices within the writing process. So that is this week's lesson. I'm going to hop back over to the PowerPoint and just click on the last slide, which is the evidence of learning. This week it is the written response that we are asking you to provide feedback on. You may always add to this list, but please remember not to take away from this list. So that is this week's learning. Always don't forget the library slide is on the very last page or slide of the deck. So always check that out and see what new things there are for our students and you guys to explore. And we hope that you have a great week of learning.